All right, y'all. If you've been following along, you know we concluded our last video with chapter 23 closing out, and now we're on chapter 24. I said I would read it aloud and put the video out if it was, some good content, and it starts off really good. This is a really good writer. She knows what she's doing. She ties things together very well and very easy to follow along, even though it's a dense reading. And I think that's really cool. Big ups to Angie Thomas. Here we go. It's been almost exactly 5 days to the hour. This is the stuff I was expecting to be in the last chapter, but I guess the issue about the, granddad and grandma helping out with the bills was, just as important, and it kind of starts off similar to this. But anyway, it's been almost exactly 5 days to the hour, and Aunt Pooh hasn't gotten back to me yet. I don't know what to do. Do I tell my mom or my brother? I could, but it may not be worth the drama if it turns out she didn't do anything. Do I call the cops? Both of those options are a hell no. I'd have to tell them Aunt Pooh may have committed murder, which is basically snitching. Not only that, but she committed murder on my order. I'm out of options and full of fears. Good thing is we aren't in the dark anymore. Granddad gave my mom enough to pay the light bill and to get us some groceries. Since the lights are back on, the stove is back on, I didn't know how much I missed hot dinners. Things are looking up. It's hard to turn the pages with one hand. Right, there we go. School is another story, though. For one, it still feels like a prison. Two, there's Malik. He got on the bus Tuesday morning and sat with Shanna. His eye was only slightly bruised and the swelling had gone down. I guess he still hasn't told anyone what happened. It's our secret. It's no secret that he not only won't speak to me about it, but he won't speak to me, period. I get why. Honestly, I hate putting him in this position. Hell, I hate being in it myself. But he has to know that if anyone hears a word about this, it's just as bad as ratting on Aunt Pooh and on me. I'm going to try to talk to him tonight after this PTA meeting with the superintendent. Hold on. I get why. Honestly, I hate putting him in this position. I hate being in it myself. What are we talking about here? Oh, he was on the, they got on the bus. His eye was slightly bruised. I guess he still hadn't told anyone what happened. Sorry. It's so secret that he not only won't speak to me about it, but he won't speak to me, period. I get why. Honestly, I hate putting him in this position. I hate being in it myself, but he has to know that if anyone hears a word about this, it's just as bad as ratting on Aunt Pooh and on me. I'm going to try to talk to him tonight after this PTA meeting with the superintendent. The Midtown Auditorium is packed. Dr. Rhodes talks to some man in a suit and tie. Not far away, Miss Murray chats with some of the other teachers. Sunny and I follow our moms and Aunt Shelley down the middle aisle. Jay's still in the skirt and blouse that she wore for an interview today. She even brought the little briefcase that she carries her resumes in. Aunt Shelley came straight from the courthouse in her security uniform. And Aunt Gina left the beauty shop early. She says Wednesdays are slow anyway. Malik's with Shanna and some of the other kids from the coalition. They're standing on the side aisles holding posters for the superintendent to see, with stuff like black or brown shouldn't mean suspicious and are grants more important than students. Sunny leans into me. You think we should be over there? Across the room, Malik laughs at some things Shanna says. He's in a full Malik X mode with a wooden black power fist hanging from a necklace. His sign says school or prison with a picture of an armed cop. Last thing he probably wants is me over there. No, I say let him do his thing. I'll be glad when you two fix whatever's going on. Sunny says, I lied and told him that Malik and I had an argument after he went to babysit his sisters. Technically, it's not a lie. There is an argument between us. It's just hasn't been spoken yet. Aunt Gina finds us some seats near the front. We've barely sat down when this balding Latino man goes up to the podium. Good evening, everyone. I am David Rodriguez, president of the Midtown School of the Arts Parent-Teacher Association. He says, thank you all for coming out tonight. I think I can speak for everyone when I say there are concerns regarding recent events here at the school. I invite Superintendent Cook to the podium to discuss the next steps and answer any questions we may have. Please welcome him. The older white man who was talking to Dr. Rhodes makes his way to the podium to polite applause. He starts by saying how much of a beacon of light Midtown is for the school district. It's one of the highest performing schools, one of the most diverse schools, and boasts one of the highest graduation rates. He's a crowd pleaser, considering how much he tells us to applaud ourselves for our accomplishments. I think we're all saddened by what took place last week, he says, and I personally want you to know that the school district is committed to ensuring that Midtown is a place of safety and of excellence. With that said, I invite you to all to ask questions or make comments as you see fit. Conversations break out all around us. Parents and students line up at the mics on each side of the room. My mom's one of them. The first question comes from a parent. How did something like this happen? Due to an ongoing investigation, I'm unable to go into a lot of details at the moment, Superintendent Cook says. However, when that information can be shared, it will be. Another parent asks about the metal detectors, random pat downs, and the armed cops. This is not a prison, he says. He's got an accent like Spanish in his first language. I do not understand why our children must be subjected to these sort of security measures. Due to recent crime spikes in the area, we felt it was best for the safety of the students if security was heightened, says Superintendent Cook. He doesn't explain the cops. We all know why they're here now, though. Sonny backhands my arm and nods toward the other mic. Shanna's up next. She clears her throat at first. She doesn't say anything. Great imagery, right, guys? I had to share that with y'all. The imagery is wonderful. Someone yells out, "Speak, Shanna," and a couple of people clap, including Malik. She looks straight at the superintendent. My name is Shanna Kincaid. I'm a junior here at Midtown. Unfortunately, it's different for me and students who look like me at this school. Dr. Cook, both Officer Long and Officer Tate were known to target Black and Latinx's students far more than anyone. We were more likely to be subjected to pat-downs, to random locker checks, and so to secondary screenings. Several of us have been in physical altercations with them. Now that armed police officers have been brought on, honestly, many of us fear for our lives. We shouldn't have that fear when we come to school. There's an uproar of applause and cheers, especially from the kids from the coalition. I clap along with them. It's no secret that Midtown needs students like me in order to get grants, Shanna says. Yet students like me do not feel welcome here. Dr. Cook, are we just dollar signs to you all, or are we actually human beings? I clap at that too. Most of the students do. The uprising last week was the result of frustration, Shanna says. Many of us have filed complaints against Officer Long and Tate. There is video showing them physically assaulting a Black student, yet they were allowed back on the job. Why, Dr. Cook? Miss Kincaid, I thank you for your insight, Dr. Cook says. I agree that racism and racial profiling are unacceptable. However, due to the ongoing investigation, there is a lot I can't speak on regarding that specific incident. What I say as my classmates boo and shout, we should at least know why they were allowed back on the job, Shanna says. Settle down, Dr. Cook says over everyone. Miss Kincaid, I thank you for your time. Next question. Shanna starts to say something, but Miss Murray comes up behind her and whispers in her ear. Shanna's clearly frustrated, but she lets Miss Murray lead her to a seat. A middle-aged white woman steps to the other mic. Hi, my name is Karen Pittman, she says. This is not so much a question, but a comment. I currently have a 10th grader here at Midtown. This is my third child to attend this wonderful school. My oldest son graduated 7 years ago before the various initiatives were put into place. During his 4 years here, there were no security guards. This will probably be an unpopular comment, but I think it must be pointed out that security measures were only heightened once students were brought in from certain communities, and rightfully so. Aunt Shelley turns all the way around in her seat to look at this woman. I wish she would. Oh, I wish she would. She basically did. Everybody knows what she means. There have been weapons brought on campus. Karen claims gang activity. If I'm not mistaken, officers Long and Tate recently apprehended a drug dealer on campus. She is so mistaken. It's funny, and gang activity, the closest thing we've had to a gang war was when the musical theater kids and the dance kids tried to outflash mob each other. That's so funny. Stuff got real when they both did numbers for Hamilton. From Hamilton, her name just had to be Karen. Sonny says it's another Josher, but bet she puts raisins in her potato salad. I smirk and we cross our arms over our chests. Wakanda forever, like everyone, Karen says, but there's so much noise from the audience, like everyone. I saw the videos from the incident and I was appalled. There was no respect for authority from many of our students. They used a vulgar, violent song to taunt two gentlemen who were simply doing their jobs, a song that my son says was done by a student and specifically targets them. We cannot and should not allow our children to be exposed to such things. I personally signed a petition this morning to have that song taken offline. I encourage other parents to do the same. Screw Karen and her son. Thank you, Miss Pittman. Mrs. Pittman. Superintendent Cook says Karen gets a mix of applause and boos as she returns to her seat. Next question, please. Jay has made her way to the front of the line. From over here, I can practically see the steam coming off of her. Go, Auntie Jade, Sonny shouts. His mama and Aunt Shelley clap for her. Superintendent Cook, she says into the mic, Jada Jackson, it's a pleasure to finally speak to you. Thank you, he says with a small smile. It's a shame it has taken this long. For weeks I have left you voicemails and have yet to receive a call back. My apologies. I'm extremely behind on. My daughter was the one physically assaulted by officers Long and Tate last month. Jay says cutting him off. Want to know why? She sold candy, Dr. Cook, not drugs, candy. Jay turns with the mic looking at Karen. While some of us are afraid of the impact songs will have on our children, there are parents who are absolutely terrified for the safety of our children at the hands of people who are supposed to protect them. There's so much applause. Aunt Shelley shouts, preach. A lot of these kids are afraid to roam this neighborhood because well-meaning people may get the wrong idea. She says at home they're afraid because not so well-meaning people may put them in danger. You're telling me they have to come to school and deal with the same mess? We can barely hear her for the applause. The fact is, Superintendent Jay says the uprising on Friday was in response to what happened to my daughter. Those two were back on the job after assaulting her as if what they did was okay. Is this the kind of message you want to send to your students? That the safety of them is more important than the safety of others? If that's the case, there is no concern for the safety of all of them. She gets a standing ovation from half the people in here. I clap harder than anyone. Superintendent Cook has the most uncomfortable smile as he waits for the applause to die down. Mrs. Jackson, I'm sorry that you feel that the school district has not been proactive regarding the incident with your daughter. However, an investigation is ongoing. You're sorry, I feel? She catches herself like she's 1 second from going off. That's not an apology, Superintendent. As far as this investigation goes, nobody's spoken to me or my child. Excuse me, sorry. Where is it? I lost my place. I'm sorry you feel. It is ongoing again. I am sorry you feel we have not been proactive. However, at the moment, I am unable to. That's basically all he said the entire meeting. When it's over, so many parents and students swarmed Dr. Cook that a police officer has to guide him through. Malik's over to the side. Maybe now I can try to. Jay grabs my hand. Come on. She pushes through the crowd and gets us right on Dr. Cook's heels just as he reaches the hall. Rebels all the way. Dr. Cook, she calls. He looks back. The officer beckons him to come on. But Dr. Cook puts a hand up and comes over to us. Mrs. Jackson, right? Yes, Jay says. This is my daughter, Brianna, the student who was assaulted. May we have a moment of your time now since you won't return my phone calls. Dr. Cook turns to the police officer. Give us a few minutes. The officer nods back and Dr. Cook leads us into a room full of large shadowed objects. He flicks a light switch revealing drum sets and horns. Dr. Cook closes the door behind us. Mrs. Jackson, again, my sincerest apologies that we haven't spoken before today. It's a shame, Jay says. She's not the type to lie. Even to be polite, it is. I take full responsibility for that. He holds his hand out to me. Nice to meet you, Brianna. I don't shake it at first. Jay nods at me. I do. I want you to look at her for a second, Dr. Cook. Jay says, really look at her. She sets her hand on my back, so I have no choice but to stand straight and look him in the eye, too. She's 16, Dr. Cook says. Jay says, not a grown woman, not a threat, a child. Do you know how I felt when I was told that two grown men manhandled my child? Dr. Cook's eyes are full of pity. I can only imagine. No, you can't, Jay says, but this was not the first call I've received about my child, Dr. Cook. Now Brianna can be argumentative. I'll be the first to admit that. She unfortunately got it from me. Look at her not putting something off and Dad for once. Still no word from Aunt Pooh, too. But she has been sent to the office for aggressive behavior simply for rolling her eyes. You are more than welcome to pull her records. In fact, please do. Read the reports from when she was sent to the office or suspended. Then tell me if any of those situations truly called for those consequences. I only have two options for my daughter, Dr. Cook, Jay says. Two, it's either the school in our neighborhood or this school. At that school, they don't set students up to succeed, but here, it's starting to feel like they're setting my child up to fail. As a mother, what am I supposed to do? As the superintendent, what are you going to do? Dr. Cook is quiet at first. He sighs, hopefully much more than I have currently done. I'm sorry that we failed you in any way. Brianna, 2 words, 3 syllables, I'm sorry. Does he know how far we've come without hearing I'm sorry? I blink before too many tears build up. Thank you. You've given me a lot to think and act on, Mrs. Jackson. All right, last couple pages. See if we can get it with the battery where it's at. Dr. Cook says, please feel free to reach out to me at any time with any concerns either of you may have. It may take me a while to get back to you, but I will because you currently don't have a secretary, right? Jay says, I saw the opening on the school district's website. Yes, I almost need a secretary to schedule time for me to interview secretaries, he teases. Jay reaches into her briefcase and takes out some papers. I'm sure this is not the proper protocol for applying for a position, but I figured why not? Here is my resume as well as my references. I have several years of secretarial experience. Oh, Dr. Cook says, clearly taken aback, but he accepts the papers and pulls out his glasses. Before you ask, the gap of unemployment is due to my past drug addiction, Jay says. However, I recently celebrated my 8th year of sobriety. Wow, that's commendable, Mrs. Jackson. Now Jay seems to be the one taken aback. Really? Yes, he says, it shows your determination. That's a good character skill. I'm 30 years sober after my alcoholism. Have to take it one day at a time. I can only imagine the type of willpower you must have. You should be proud of yourself. From the looks of it, Jay never thought of it like that. I haven't either. Honestly, I'm proud of her, but I always looked at it like she got off of drugs, and that was that. She used to say she went to rehab so she could fight her way back to me and Trey. Dr. Cook makes it seem like she fights to stay, too. He tucks her resume and references inside his jacket pocket and holds his hand out to her. I'll be in touch. Jay looks dazed as she shakes his hand. By the time we leave the band room, everyone made their way outside. Aunt Gina, Aunt Shelly, Sonny, and Malik wait for us in the parking lot. Lord, if I get that job, Jay mutters, benefits, Jesus benefits. There are jobs and there are jobs with benefits. Big difference. Whenever somebody in my family gets a job, the first question is, does it have benefits? Jay immediately tells Aunt Shelly and Aunt Gina what just went down. They're so happy that they suggest we go out to dinner for a pre-celebration, their treat. Nothing's guaranteed, but I'm pretty sure they just want to get my mom's and mine off of all the other stuff. I'm usually good with free food, but free food with my mom and her friends, I shake my head, no thank you, I cannot go out to eat with you three. Sonny busts out laughing because he knows why. Malik doesn't smirk or even look at me. Jay sets her hand on her hip. What's wrong with going out with us? What's not wrong? I say, y'all are the worst at restaurants. First off, anything I order, Jay has to have some of it too. Oh shit, I'm And before I know it, most of my food is gone. Secondly, Aunt Gina loves to send stuff back to the kitchen until it's right, and I wouldn't be surprised if they spit in our food. Third, my mom and my godmothers don't know how to leave. Their butts will be sitting there laughing and talking until the restaurant closes, especially if it's one of those bottomless drinks and appetizer places. She's right, Sonny says, unless we have a table to ourselves. It's a no from me too. Y'all hear this? Jay asks the other two. We carried these jokers, birthed them, and now they got the nerve to be ashamed of us. Aunt Gina kisses her teeth. But they won't be ashamed when we pay the bill. Sonny grins. Now that's a fact. Aunt Shelly laughs. Whatever. You three can have your little table to yourselves. Nah, says Malik. Count me out. He looks at me as he says it. Malik kisses him mom on the cheek and says something about hanging out with Shanna and walks away from us, but it feels like he's walking away from me. All right.